recording because I haven't been recording. Okay, now I'm
All
recording.
right. Now we're
All
recording.
right,
Oh my
this
goodness.
is why you and I are just not techies. But anyway, so we're going to be talking about the 5 windows of investment opportunity. And as we talk, the wisest and the wealthiest man of his time, King Solomon. I mean, this guy was richer than anybody close to him in his region, and he was. I mean, compared to even other kings around him. And he said these very powerful words in his book called Ecclesiastes, one of his masterpieces called Ecclesiastes. He says in Ecclesiastes 9:11, I've seen something else under the sun. He says, the race is not to the swift or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise or wealth to the brilliant or favor to the learned. I mean, those are very profound words. He says, but time and chance happen to them all. And I think that's something that I really am convinced about. I mean, this man is saying that there are windows that are open to everybody. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be a guy born in a posh family. You don't have to be a person whose dad was rich. You don't have to have any of those things. These opportunities come to every single one of us. And that's kind of what I'm praying will happen tonight, that as we speak, somebody's eyes will be, something will fall off somebody's eyes. And you begin to realize the opportunity staring at you right now in your current season of life. And I just meant to mention these thoughts are mainly drawn out of content from my book Seasons. I've got a book written, Seasons, about the seasons of a leader's life, and then connecting that a lot with what we teach in Couples and Money. And so I'm hoping that for you as you're here tonight, that it will just be value for you as a couple. So there are 5 windows of opportunity that every single one of us comes across in their lifetime. So there are five. If you're taking notes, there are 5. There are only 5 we're going to talk about tonight. And the first window is called the developmental window. Developmental window. And this is from the ages 0 to 25. That's your developmental window. This is the time in life when you're developing as a person, when you're growing to be an adult. You're moving through your childhood, basically. And here, the main things you're learning language skills, a lot of the language skills that will help you later in life, but you're also learning the values that are going to help you later in life. Those are some of the things you're learning. We'll also talk about the fact that you're learning networking in that season, which is another very important lesson. Now, some of you grew up in homes where dad was never home. The role of the man was to be out, looking after wealth, looking after provision. The wife is the one who made friends with the kids and stayed home. And because of that, that's how you view reality. Those are the values that were shaped in you. And those were actually values that could have worked in another season, but they actually don't work in today's economy. And I find a lot of men frustrated because this is how they were trained by their fathers, but they realize now it's not working. And you find that people my age are saying, the kids have turned against me. They no longer talk to me. They've made friends with them, the mom, and they're blaming the wife and saying it's a woman's fault. She's poisoned kids against you. But you didn't realize that actually the model you were taught, the values you were taught, were actually not conducive to your having a good family life with your children. Yeah. Other values would be things like, and basically the thing about values, they become normal for you. Yeah. So you're like, this is how it's done. Anybody challenges that, you're like, are you crazy? Because that's what you were taught. And that season of life really shapes you in your values.
Yeah, and for others of you, you may have grown up with parents who are civil servants, or they were teachers, or they were professionals. And for them, it's a very interesting thing that happened those days. And for them, they frowned upon businesses. And doing a business was seen as something that those people who have failed in school pursue. And so, you come into marriage with that perspective, and yet your spouse maybe might be, thinking about businesses and so on. So anyway, these are the values that we pick up from home without even realizing what is going on.
Yeah, and they sabotage your family because you can't think. It's like you're bound to your job. But the reason is because your parents frowned on you thinking about any other way. Those are values that were shaped. For some of you, it was like, for me, like I actually grew up in that civil servant family where there was not enough money. Money was never enough. And so as a result, it was always a matter of, at the end of the month, you pay your bills. And my parents, I can't say they were poor, but they just never had extra. And so I learned to just skimp. Carol can tell you the things I have. I mean, I've got clothes from
A
many
long
years
time
ago.
ago.
I don't let go of things.
And
I
they're
just
categorized into A, B, C. It's crazy.
yeah, I've got my A clothes, which are now the
The
game
I don't know
face
what,
church
then there's
clothes.
B.
B, it's like I just learned to be very thrifty. But then Caro didn't grow up in a civil servant family. She grew up in a business family. And for them,
Reduce the
money could
volume.
be made. They could make money, but then they could also
It was a fast and feast.
fasting and feasting. So there
Yeah.
are times when they were broke, but then money would come in a big way. And so she's learned to, when the money was there, they had a blast.
spend.
They went out on holidays, they did things
Yeah.
that civil servants couldn't dream of doing.
Yeah.
So basically now imagine we got married and those two have clashing value systems.
Incidentally, I must say that for me, I have a magical view of money, which is it does not get finished.
You just spend it because more is coming.
So you can imagine how threatening.
Yeah. So those are some of the challenges. Yeah.
All right. So as we're talking, so
those are values
so
now.
yeah, some of those values that we pick up and we don't even consciously realize that is what we're picking up. But also as we grow up in our teens, our teen years are also very interesting years because we also learn some very critical things in our teens. And in our teens, the key thing we're learning is how to make friends, how to network, how to work, how to be part of a team, if it's whether it's sports or with girls or with boys, that is a critical thing that is happening over there, making friends. Now, some of you are fortunate enough to grow up and this season for you to be one where you developed a good self-esteem. Maybe you are popular, or you could make friends easily.
Or your family just made friends or taught you to be confident.
Taught you to be confident. You learned how to overcome fear of rejection and so on. But for some of you, you grew up, just very fearful. This was a time when instead of becoming bold and confident, things happened in there that made you very fearful of people, fearful of circumstances, unsure of yourself, just feeling, you cannot overcome, a sense of failure. And that affects you today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this, again, remember, it's values. And then after that, as you move into teens, it's networking. These are skills that will help you succeed when it comes to making money in life. But they are shaped when you're young. And what happens then is you find you're still struggling. Some of you really struggle to get out in front of people. You struggle to sell a product. You struggle to share, to brand something, because these things were taught to you.
Yeah.
But
or some of you, when you face like a setback, whether it's in business or even at your place of work, it really floors you. Why? Something in your teens or something in your growing up did not give you that sense of resiliency. Things happened, and maybe in your family, it was just a very challenges would come and the family would not be able to overcome those challenges. So you never learned what it means to be resilient.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we're not saying these things are set in stone.
Yeah, no.
But I think the first place is self-awareness, and you just need to get into context so you can learn the limiting things, because these are limits in your mind that actually limit your ability to create the wealthy future or the secure future that you're looking forward to. And one of the things is also important. So it's important to know that for yourself, but it's also important for those of you who have kids, because then you need to start teaching them about having the right values, about money, about friendships, about how to make money. It's important for them to understand that there's nothing wrong with being wealthy, but also there are ways to make wealth that are correct ways. Because when you're not talking to your kids, guess what? They are watching it. They're seeing it in the papers. They're seeing it in the news. They're seeing that the way to become rich is become a politician and steal a lot of money. That's what, if you're in Kenya, that's what you're learning. I know in Rwanda, you don't learn that, but in Kenya, that's what you're learning. Yeah. But you're running, they see the wrong values because their parents aren't talking to them and sharing. So you need to help them to learn to invest, to run business, to create money when they're young. I remember when we were in college, we started quite a few businesses. We were dating in college. And I think we've run so many businesses, and many of them we started when we were quite young. Yeah. I remember we used to do expatriate sales. We'd go and buy stuff from expatriates who are leaving and then sell. We learned how to we used to do bags for shoes, remember?
Yes, we sold.
We sold cakes.
We made and sold.
We sold cakes. We did lingerie. I mean, we went to South Africa. I remember being sent to South Africa to buy women's lingerie.
Yes.
And then coming back and selling. And that's how
in
we funded our
Kenyatta
wedding, by
markets.
the way. That's how we funded our wedding.
Yeah.
Caro's parents were actually very good role models for us. And we were blessed to have those role models, because for many of you, if you don't have those role models, it gets harder. But when you have those role models, then you're able to actually see there's nothing wrong with it. And you can actually, there are actually ideas there where you can make money. And so we worked together in business as a young couple. And it's continued. I mean, we do it in ministry, but also we do it in business even till today.
Yeah. So we're talking about this and saying this is a legacy that we got from our parents in terms of doing business. And so even as you're, especially, and we did say, if you're a parent, you do want to teach your children about money. Because the sad thing that happens is that you create the wealth, and then by the time, your children, there are those situations, where children are waiting for their parents to die so that they can sell that, they can, divide up and sell. So you do not want, to have that kind of a legacy for yourself. So for example, for ourselves, we're teaching our children how to be entrepreneurial. Because entrepreneurship is actually where wealth is. It's not necessarily in a job. Yes. And so we're helping them set up businesses. The latest one we're doing with them is that we're helping them own their own beehives. That's the latest business that we're doing.
Because I'm a beekeeper.
He's a beekeeper. And so we have said, each of you're going to have 3 hives, which you're going to take care of, understand beekeeping, learn how to harvest, sell. And it's because we want to teach them how to make money with their own hands, especially when they go to college. I mean, I don't think it's dignifying for a college student to still be asking their parents for airtime, or clothes money, and even paying a little bit of their school fees. I think it's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. And they've done this for years, by the way. It's not a new thing, but it's just now we needed to get something that now will scale up their income. And basically what our projections is, each of them will be able to make up to 30,000 shillings a month.
Is it a month?
Yeah,
Every 3
absolutely.
months? Oh, a month?
A month, yeah,
Oh.
if they're faithful and doing it well.
Okay.
And that's about
that's
$300. So that's not bad for a college student to be able to generate with very little work. Comparatively.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is teach your kids. And for those of you who have kids, what are the values you're teaching them? Are you sitting down with them to teach them the values? And then are you able to even be alert to know the things that are limiters in your own mind? Are you in a context where you're actually being able to introspect and having other people point out the limiters in your own mind? So that's window number 1. 0 to 25 years, it's a developmental window. Now that's a window of opportunity. Both the fact that if there's anybody here under 25, there's a window of opportunity, but more likely there are parents here, and it's a window of opportunity for your kids. Yeah. So again, that's why it's so important to spend time in teaching your kids. By the way, if you have any comments or questions as we go, use the chat line. And thanks for those of you who are already using that. Now, second window number 2 is it's 25 to 45. And it's called the human investment window.
This is the age of 25 to 45.
Yeah, age 25 to 45. And it's the human investment window. So in this season, there's a lot of investment going on. And the priority is to invest in education, being mentored, buying assets, so that you actually succeed in the future. And education is not school education now. It might be in some ways, but a lot of it is now professional. It's teaching yourself about money. It's getting the mentors who will help you be able to start life right. Many people waste these years, like badly waste them. I'm shocked how many people waste the 25. These are extremely productive years, and people waste them, thinking they have a lot of time. Because what do you think when you're in 25 to 45? You just think time is unlimited. Yeah. Strength is unlimited. I'll always have this opportunity. I remember talking to a friend who recently who visited us, and he's 30. And
just clocking, cutting.
And my goodness, that guy he's made money. We got him to sit down and actually think, how much money have you actually made? And by the time we're done, we're like, this guy has made millions, but he's squandered it. He's basically used it on girls and holidays, and he lives in a very nice part of town. He's paying good rent. He's got a fantastic, of course, what car do guys in their 30s drive? Subaru Impreza, obviously, to impress the girls. And so he's got all these little things happening, huh? And somebody said no sound.
No sound. Is that?
I hope you can hear us. Let us know if you can't hear us. I can see Mema says no sound.
We can hear you.
You can hear. Okay,
Okay,
fantastic.
so probably someone
Fantastic.
else.
So
Okay.
Mema, it might be just your okay, also James. But I think for you, if you can't hear us, then it might be your system because other people are hearing. So the sound is okay, Rachel says. Okay, fantastic. So basically, he's literally wasted, and many people, 25 to 35, 45, they waste millions of shillings added when it adds up on their lifestyle, which is very, very tragic.
Like I remember when we were that age, we used to eat out quite a lot, huh? I mean, we had a standing order in a certain Ethiopian restaurant.
Yeah.
And
every Friday, every whatever.
Yeah,
when
we
you
just
you don't
we're
cook.
like, yeah, we don't want to cook, so we would eat out, and that was very interesting. Anyway, but in this stage, it is so important that you find mentors.
Yeah.
People who are going to help you succeed, because when you look at your peers, that is what everybody is doing, taking fancy holidays, to Mombasa, going to Dubai, buying the latest cars, doing, just they're in a very high consumer lifestyle.
Yeah.
And indeed, even in the places where we work, we're encouraged to have a conspicuous kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
So you do need to find mentors to help you, think differently. People who have good values, who are successful, people who are successful in their family. I mean, that's really crucial. You're not just looking for somebody who is successful by themselves, but somebody who also has strong family values. Because you don't want the people who succeed by themselves often end up being very lonely in their older years without a family to even enjoy the things that they have achieved. So you want a mentor who has good family values, who probably is in business, who has done investments. They have a mixed portfolio, and that is very important to network and to find those kinds of people. For example, for my dad, he's the one who helped us buy our first piece of land in Rongai. We happened to be living out of the country at the time, and he was like, you know what, you need to buy land.
Yeah.
You can't just spend your money on lifestyle. You need to buy land, and he helped us do that. We also have another good friend of ours who helped us buy our first apartment in Embakasi.
James.
Yeah, James. And at that time, people were saying, no, you buy in Kile, that was the in thing.
The nicer parts in
That
town.
was the nicer. But he was like, if you buy in Lavington or in Kile, it will tie up your money, your resources. For that might be the only thing that you can afford to do. And you will not be able to do any other investment. So he said, you go down to Embakasi, buy an affordable apartment, buy it, and you'll be able to do other investments. Then we have our other good friend Apollo, who helped us start buying shares. He was working in Equity at the time.
Equity Bank, yeah.
Equity Bank. And I tell you, those shares, I can't remember. I think we bought was something like 300,000.
Actually, he was an employee and they were doing the ESOP, which is employee share opportunity thing.
Yeah.
And so he was like, look, there are many of my colleagues who aren't taking up the offers. I need you. Actually, all these mentors, he's my peer, but he was actually a mentor financially at that time.
Yeah.
And he basically was like, these things are here, you need to buy. And so I remember we looked for like 300,000 shillings,
which is, I don't know how much.
Which was astronomical back in the day.
That's
like $3,000.
Yeah.
It was like we scraped everything we could and bought them because this mentor pushed us to.
And by the time I think we were selling,
we must have sold them over 3 million. Like ton. They were like a beginning part.
They multiplied, they grew in
actually
value.
Much more than 3 million.
Yeah, I think we ended up selling them for 3 million.
More than that, actually.
Yeah, which is $30,000. I mean, it's really 10 times.
They just spiraled.
Value.
So you need mentors, because if you don't have mentors, like if he hadn't pushed us, we'd have probably used that money and never even knew where it went. But just having somebody who was able to push us with every one of those opportunities, they helped us put the money together in terms of buying assets. And, I think one of the things that we found in that season is, and I think somebody taught us this saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Many of us surround ourselves with, we surround ourselves with friends who are not going to help us get where we're going. Our friends who, there's almost this hard mentality. We're all in this together. So since we're doing what other people are doing, so so we just become very poor in our thinking because we're tied into the lifestyle of our friends. I was even telling Carol, moving to Embakasi when James pushed us to do that.
Yeah, because we bought the apartment and then moved.
We had to move to it because we couldn't afford to both stay there and go
so we moved from Gumo.
We're living in a very nice part of town in Gumo, which is close to the city center.
Yeah.
Very good facilities, beautiful estate, lovely streets to walk in the evening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like the life. We're living the life, you know? And I remember the guy just challenging us. In fact, when he challenged us, we looked around and we realized all our neighbors were older by 10 years at least.
Yeah.
And they were all like doctors or serious professionals who were earning good money. And then they were living, actually the doctors weren't even paying rent. I think the government was paying for them in that place because it was near the National Hospital. And then we realized we're the only broke guys in this estate. We're the only we're the young wannabes in this estate. Everybody else has made it, you know? And it was such a wake-up call. Like, why are we here? Just because we can afford to pay the money, but we're actually using money we should be building our future and giving it to a landlord. And so that was a shift, a mental shift. And I told her it changed our thinking about money because when we moved to Embakasi, we realized life there was different. It's a cheaper place. Greens, everything. Vegetables were cheaper. Groceries were cheaper. Schools were cheaper. It was shocking. And then when we kind of, after a while, we were able to move back to...
But remember what our friends said when they came to visit us? They asked us, oh my goodness, what has happened?
What happened? I mean, they were mourning for us. Like, guys, we just came to see, are you okay? I mean, you've moved. Nobody ever moves downwards like that.
The roads were so poor at that
poor
time.
Roads. After that, when Mavuno moved to Athi River, which is, again, out of town, we moved there with our kids.
To Athi River,
and we lived there for 5 years. And I was telling her again, that was the best thing that ever happened to us. And you know why it's the best thing? Right now we live in Karen, which is like one of those aspirational suburbs that people want to live in. But it's interesting. I was just laughing today. We're laughing with some friends today and telling them we have a shags mentality. Like Karen and I, shags means just up country mentality. Because of living in Embakasi and then living in Athi River, we don't have the consumer mentality that people around here have. Like, when I see my friends, when I see people who especially live in places like Lavington, Kileleshwa, Kilimani,
going to private clubs,
it honestly is the matrix. Everybody's driving the nicest. They want to drive the nicest car. They want to eat out every other day. They want to go to the jazz festival. They want to go to whichever gig. It's like the consumer lifestyle is so crazy, and I feel like we were in it, especially, but we were saved from it. Like our friends actually just yanked us out and got us out of it. And I think that's the best thing that ever happened. So I feel like we have a very simple lifestyle. What that has meant is we've been able to accumulate significant resources in our life that we've been able to invest.
Yeah. So in this stage, which is, I think it was 25 to 45, the most critical thing that you want to learn to manage is your lifestyle, because that is what is going to trip you up. And I remember even at that time, we made another big decision, which we have shared before, which is learning to live on one salary and then investing in the other salary and giving. And again, people
didn't we lived on her salary, and then mine, which was a bit bigger, we invested
it. And people didn't understand that because, of course, the cars we drove were not like the cars our peers were driving in. The house we lived in was not the same. We was not in the same neighborhood as our peers. So people didn't understand what we were doing. But that decision that we made helped create a lot of capital that we could then invest. And I think that was the biggest thing that happened at 25 to 45 years.
So, I mean, when I look at our asset base now, it's significant. You know, when I compare it with my friends who are bank managers from day one, when we left school, when I look at some of the people who've been in highly paying jobs, we have a significant, I mean, we're wealthy, if I can put it that way. But a lot of it has come not by any tenders, not by taking any shortcuts, but just simply learning how to live within our means and growing our cash flow in a sense. And I think at this stage, that second window, your opportunity there is that you invest in aggressive, long-term, higher risk, high reward investments. because that's, you've got time. Time is your friend in that season. And so this is when you're actually buying shares, you're buying real estate. And this is the time when you're actually building the asset base that later you'll be able to convert into cash flow in a sense. And so you want to get into that. This is the time you actually can afford to get into those. So we bought a lot of stocks in those years, and many of them were able to actually give us significant upside just a few years later. And that's the time you really build that asset base.
Yeah.
So I know there are many people who are watching the majority tonight, and the question I in that second window, and the question I have for you is, who are your mentors? Who are the people you're working with? Are you in a community? Are you with people who are helping you see opportunities that you are not able to see? And then are you making those wise long-term investments as a couple? I think it's very, very critical.
Yeah.
So that's window number 2. Okay, we need to rush because we've got 5 windows. So window number 3 is 45 to 55.
Yes.
And we call that window the peak responsibility window. Peak responsibility window. Pastor Caro, you're being told to increase your volume. So let me make sure that people can hear you. So peak responsibility window. This is often the busiest season of your life. 45 to 55. I mean, we're in it right now. And it's not it's for those of you who are there, you know exactly what we mean. It can be a busy time. You thought it was busy when your kids were young, but just wait till you get to this season. This is when your kids are probably older, but then what's happening is your responsibilities at work are just peaking. You've got and in society as well, you just have many responsibilities. Responsibilities over your parents, responsibility over community. So there's a lot of responsibility in this season.
Someone who was even saying you're paying school fees for a number of relatives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this can be a really intense. So it can actually be, the cash flow you can be drained cash flow wise. It's even hard to keep up with friends at this stage. You can find yourself getting very isolated in this stage just because of the speed of life. It can be a time of serious cash crunch because of all the responsibilities, all the outflows that are going out. And so many people at this stage, they end up compromising their values and taking shortcuts. This is what we've seen with just doing dubious things because they realize time's running out, or they end up taking loans because they're trying to jumpstart their cash flows, and then they end up sinking. Many of these projects do not end up well because what they're trying to do is to catch up very quickly, and yet wealth that is built quickly, the Proverbs tells us, doesn't bless in a sense.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're beginning to realize that they're competing with time. And time is a great friend, but it's also a terrible opponent.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest realization that people are getting to in this season.
Yeah. And as we were saying, because you're growing in responsibility, you're probably, senior management at this particular time, or maybe your business has peaked at this particular time. Lifestyle is the biggest problem here.
Yep.
Yeah, because a lot of your peers and the pressure there is to live in a certain neighborhood, is to take your kids to the best schools, to buy multiple cars, live in a good neighborhood. And these are the things that are normal. This is what everybody is doing.
This is what you're working to sustain.
Yes. And but unfortunately, this when you have this kind of lifestyle, it leaves very little for investment. And as you're getting older, it leads to a growing sense of panic. And as you enter the 50s and you realize that you're no longer youth, and you realize that, oh my goodness, retirement is coming, and I don't have any, I don't have anything to retire to, then you can actually start panicking, which is what we are seeing with our peers, who led a certain lifestyle when they were younger.
There's actually panic, and I can see that with my peers. Just almost that sense of, oh God, will we have enough to retire on? I mean, it just becomes a dawning awareness. So if you're in this stage and you realize, we may not have enough to live on in retirement, we might actually be setting ourselves for a very bad ending. You need to do some drastic things. And those drastic things include curbing. I mean, it basically have to do with curbing your lifestyle, prioritizing so that you can put enough aside to be able to invest in your future. and this might mean downgrading your lifestyle, uh, and 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 it might even be downgrading your house, moving to a cheaper house. It might be moving to changing your car, selling cars. It might be even the schools you're sending your kids to. Some of these things are just out of pressure. We can't imagine downgrading our kids' school. But I can tell you, we've been we with our mentors, because we really believe in the value of mentorship.
Yeah.
So we're in a group of mentors where we're in a group of couples who are all in their 60s, huh?
Yeah.
And we were not even 50 yet at that point. And they allowed us to join the group just because we wanted to be part of their group. We promised that we'll serve tea if they just allow us to sit in and learn from them. And so they allowed us. I think they just felt sorry for us because we're so eager to learn.
Yeah.
But one of the things I remember, I'll never forget one of the discussions we had, where the question we're asking is, what's the biggest regret you have when it comes to looking back at your life and the decisions you've made financially? And all of them, like virtually all of them, said, we spent too much on our children's school fees. We followed what our peers were doing. We took our kids to the best schools. Some of them ended up now taking them abroad. To do their college, Malaysia, wherever. I mean,
UK.
And at that point, it looked like they were being very responsible. But the challenge was that later on, they realized we were using our retirement funds. We were using our passive income for the future to invest in our kids today. And they said, we look at our friends who went to local universities and the kids turned out okay. And so we just jumped onto the bandwagon of the peers and did this. So I think it's a matter of just what drastic things can you do now to ensure that you can actually put aside. It's not too late, but you need to start making some drastic decisions.
Yeah. So in this season, then your investments, begin to become a little bit mixed portfolio. And what you're doing is that you're balancing between the riskier and the safer investments. And you're beginning to try to ensure that you're now consolidating your assets so that you can get some cash flow from them. So it might mean that you're selling you're selling some real estate, you're selling some land, you're selling some houses, and you're now putting those in investment instruments where now they're earning for you a passive income.
Yeah.
So for those in this season, the question that we'll be asking is, are you on target to retire well?
Yep.
Or do you need to make some drastic changes today? What is going on in your life right now?
Yeah. Live like no one else today so you can live like no one else tomorrow. That's what I always say. And so you need to be willing to just, the Proverbs talks about, I think it's Proverbs 6 that talks about being like a gazelle, having gazelle-like intensity. Where when a gazelle is being chased by a cheetah, they say that the kill rate of a gazelle to a cheetah is much stronger and the fastest animal alive. But I think it's only 1 out of 20 that they catch when it comes to a gazelle. Why? Because when the gazelle is being chased by a cheetah, it is intently focused on getting away. There's nothing else in its mind. It's just focused. And Solomon tells us, flee like a gazelle from the snare of when your creditors are coming for you. He's basically talking about a financial issue there. And you probably need some gazelle-like intensity at this stage to be able to make sure that you don't end up in regret. Now, somebody talked about trading in stocks based on word of mouth is known to be fraught with risk. Absolutely. Since underlying value and future prospects of the stocks can be difficult to determine. How does a careful stock investor in Kenya decide which stocks are worth buying? In the Western world, investing in the whole market through index funds is often the recommended strategy. Please comment. I think there's definitely, with every investment, you have to be educated. And the one thing that we don't invest in a lot is we don't invest in our financial education, our financial literacy. That's one of the things that's a big regret for me when I look. I actually think we should start teaching financial literacy in school. But people are taught all about their careers. You take 10 years preparing for your career, but you don't take even 2 learning how to manage the money that you make in that career. And so I think with stocks, what we realize is you can read up, you can learn, you can get mentors, and you can actually have a very studied and clear approach on stocks. There are companies here that will actually give you a return. And you can look at the historic, because all the historic data is there on the stock market. That goes back 15, 20 years. So there's no reason why you can't study them yourself, or there are mutual funds as well. Even here, there are funds where people will actually give you a mixed stock basket, where you're able to have higher aggressive baskets, and then medium term, medium risk, and low risk. So I think it's possible. It's just that you have to have an interest. In fact, what I say is this again comes from the values. If you're taught never to be interested in money, it's somebody else's problem. Many of us, what we do is we're looking for somebody to help to put our money in. And what we're trying to promote is just learning about risk, about money, learning about investment. It's not too late to learn. So, but thank you for that great question.
But I remember between 25 and 45, that's a time that we really did a lot of studying on the stocks and shares. I just did a lot of trying to understand what that was about.
Yeah.
We didn't have too much money, so the best way that we could grow it was, putting it in stocks. Yeah. So we did a lot of.
And so we talked. I remember talking to at least I think it was 2 stockbrokers, and just forming an appointment just to understand what companies they were recommending us buys, why, how to read a company document when they give their financial report, just the basics to help me understand what the company was. I remember reading some books then, and they were very helpful. And then just that was very, very useful because it helped me begin and helped us begin to understand, okay, here like a select 4 or 5 stocks that we wanted to put money. And then what we did is every month, I remember that time we could only afford $100, 10,000 shillings every month for several years. And so that was, and then it ended up being a significant part of our fortune, what we were able to then invest in those early days to buy assets. Yeah. So let me just repeat the stages that we've learned. We've learned about window number 1, which is 0 to 25, developmental window. We've learned about window number 2, which is 25 to 45 years, which is the human investment window. We've just talked about window number 3, 45 to 55, which is a peak responsibility window. And each of these windows is an opportunity for those who are wise and who see the opportunity. Time and chance happen to everybody. And then we'll talk about window number 4 and then window number 5. Window number 4 happens around 55 to 65. And that's kind of where we're heading. And it's a consolidation window. That's your consolidation window. Now, what is that? You see, at this point, you should be at the top of your game. You're basically the most influential you'll be at work because of your experience. And so your experience is going to really, at that point, you should be a highly valuable person. Whatever it is that you trained in, whatever you've been doing, you're highly experienced in a sense. This is a season that really differentiates people. At this point, you're either celebrating life because of the good investments you made. So the businesses you got into, the shambas you put in, the shares you bought, the passive income that's coming in. Or, so either you're celebrating or you're regretting. And there are many people who are regretting the fact that they don't have adequate investments. This is basically the time you're starting to retire. And many people are just facing the stark reality that they're going to really struggle when retirement comes.
Yeah, and it's been very interesting talking to our friends, as we said, our mentors who are now retiring. They're in their 60s, and we happened to have a conversation with one of them, and for us, we're like, okay, your friends have all been in influential positions at their places of work. It's not that they have not had very good jobs. So in our minds, we were assuming that all is well for their friends and, at that level where they were senior managers. And we were very shocked to hear from our mentors that that is not the case. Yeah. For example, there's a pastor friend was telling us of a couple in his church who live in a beautiful house in Lavington. Yep. Earlier on, they were able to buy it. It was an asset that they bought when they were younger. They looked very well to do. But after paying all their bills, after paying all their debt, they currently only have about 20,000 shillings to live on. That is their current reality right now as we speak. And what our friend was telling us is that they look very good. They still are dressing the part. Their cars have not yet started breaking down because, when you're retiring, you retire with a good car, but after a while it begins to break down. they look very good, but they're struggling.
Yeah.
But when our friends tried to ask them, to do the
Actually,
logical thing.
they're not just struggling, like they're basically on top of, like, now what they have is like when they've paid all their bills, their
So
association fees, whatever,
whatever.
they have 20,000 shillings, which is $200 to live on. Now, this is a shock because if they walk into your church, if they walk into your club, they really
They
look
look good.
accomplished. They have high respect in society, but they have 20,000 shillings. I mean, who can? It's so
What can
little
you do?
money
Yeah.
for people at that level,
Yeah.
but that's all they have.
Yeah. And so when our friend was advising them and telling them, why don't you do the logical thing? Sell your house, put that money in a fund, that is going to give you a return, and then move to a cheaper part of town. And they were not able to do that. And their thing is that, we can't do that. All our friends live in this area. How can we downgrade and move to living in a cheaper area? Yeah. So, and what we can
Because
say,
the place they'd have to move to is far from where they are
it's
right
fun,
now.
but it's a clicking time bomb. They will not be able to sustain that lifestyle. It will only take something very small to tip, and they'll find themselves in poverty.
Actually, they're staring at it. Not, it
They
won't even take something small. They will fall into
They are
poverty.
actually in poverty right now.
So, I mean, this is especially for those of you who are in the corporate world, it's a trap. We're living in the matrix. People need to wake up and to understand that there's a lot of fake it till you make it in the city today. And Nairobi for sure. I don't know about the cities everybody else is watching from. But actually, I realized when I go to, because we have a church in Uganda, we have a church in Kigali. When I go to those cities, we have a church in DRC, Kinshasa. It's just, in fact, it's even crazier than Nairobi. The fake it till you make it mentality, where people are just, they look rich, but inside they're basically heading towards poverty. They're setting themselves up to depend on their children. It's scary for me when I see this. And so we must wake up and just say, no, it has to end in our generation. And there's somebody who told us, if you enjoyed pleasure when you were young, you will enjoy pressure when you're older. So pleasure now, pressure later. And so I think it's that thing when you're young, you're like, man, I've got to enjoy life. I'm so young. I've got the strength to enjoy it. Many people feel like they'll never grow old. It's like, man, I'm in my 30s. What are you telling me about being old? When will I ever enjoy this money if I don't enjoy it now? What you don't realize is, like, us guys are in our 50s, but we don't feel old. We still have strength. We still enjoy our life. But now we can actually enjoy life without the pressure. But there are many people who cannot. There are many couples who have big visions and things they want to do, but they can't. And the reason is because they didn't understand this now. So pleasure now, pressure later. Somebody asked, what kind of fund would you suggest? I think it all depends on your goals. And again, at this stage in life, if you're in this stage in life, I would recommend this. So it starts with high risk, high return because you've got time. As you get older, it gets to a medium portfolio, like Caro had mentioned. As you're getting to this stage now, you're moving into very low risk, very conservative. Actually, at this point, this is not the time to take your retirement funds and start a business like we see happening in this country so often. That is actually sure doom. You don't have even the energy to do startup. And so at this stage, actually, what you should be doing is consolidating your investments, consolidating your assets to create cash flow. And that's what I've seen. We were just talking earlier and saying, we know parents who have land worth millions, but they are completely broke. And because of the values they were taught about land, they can't even sell the land. They are depending on their kids to meet their medical costs, etc. But this is a stage actually to liquidate and to make sure that you actually consolidate and you have enough to look after your day-to-day needs as a person. So this is one of the things I'd say. Somebody asked about what can you say about joint family investments? And this is basically talking about maybe investing with your brothers, investing with your extended family. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's actually can be a good thing. But the only thing I'd say is, first of all, as couples who are coming into, you can't, because sometimes I find that those investments can drive apart couples, where it's like it's us brothers and our wives now, or it's us. So it can actually keep away your spouse. Who's your primary partner? So number one, you need to make sure that does not happen. That it's actually understood that this is us together, and appreciate the value that the spouses bring into the conversation. But then again, make sure that you have the same values. Even with your siblings, it's not automatic you'll have the same values. So, but I think having said that, that you weigh it just like any other investment and make sure that there's a good return. What about inheritance? Kagwe says, let me move into 65 plus, because I think that's going to hopefully begin to talk about that. And this is window number 5, which is the results window. Window number 5, which is the final window we're talking about tonight, is the results window. Now, in this window, you'll either be experiencing a very comfortable lifestyle, or you'll experience a significant drop in your lifestyle when you retire. We've seen it with our parents' generation, but somehow we think we're immune to it in this generation, but we are not. You'll either be at the place where you are used to driving and now you can't afford fuel. You're used to calling anytime, but now you can't afford airtime. And it becomes now you're calling your kids to ask for money. And it actually is not biblical. Because the Bible, I always teach, the Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Again, King Solomon, full of wisdom about money. A good man, he makes wealth a moral issue. He says, if you're calling your kids for money, that's not a good man. And I guess I can excuse our parents because they didn't know that. But for us who know it, we can't afford to make the same mistakes. So you should actually be leaving an inheritance for your children's children. And at this stage, you'll either be experiencing that comfortable lifestyle where your grandkids love to visit. There's always, they come to grandma's house because they know there's always good food. There's always fun at her house because she's relaxed. Or they will actually not enjoy being around you because you're always stressed. So basically at 65 plus, that you just know that this is where you'll be, either joyfully pursuing purpose or painfully pursuing survival. You really have a choice at that stage.
Yeah. And as we had said earlier, this is not the time to use your retirement package to start a new business. We in the past, I think we used to hear about golden handshakes, retirement packages, and people then thought they can start a business. This is not the time to do that. You don't have the energy. By this time, you should be living comfortably settled with several streams of passive income, so that you can invest in and enjoy the next generation. Absolutely. You enjoy your grandkids, enjoy impacting other couples, enjoy now looking out into the society and seeing what value that you can add over there. Any wealth generation activities should be because of mentoring opportunities and charitable giving. Yeah. So that is what you should do.
That's the only reason you're working at this stage, because you want to mentor the next generation or because you want extra money to give away. Yeah. But you're not working because you're surviving. Yeah. And we talk about, you just talked about passive income, and couples, we talk about, again, King Solomon, really good, really influential mentor for us. He talks about having 7 to 8 streams of income. If you read Ecclesiastes 11, he says, give portions to 7 or to 8. And that's what we challenge people in Couples and Money, that we're building 7 to 8 streams of passive income per family. Because you need to be able to have money that works for you when you're asleep. You can't be working for money. Money needs to be working for you. And this stage, this is when you actually reap the consequences or the results. So I think what we want to say is, regardless the stage, I don't know, some of you may have had this talk and you're very excited because you're on the journey and you know that this is where you're heading. Somebody asked, is this over 60 window the only bracket you can offer mentorship? Absolutely not. In fact, in Couples and Money, we challenge the facilitators. Most of them are nowhere near that age. They're in their 30s, 40s, a few in their 50s, but they're mentoring now because we believe that the more you mentor people, you also grow as well as a person. And so it's not limited to that stage. Somebody say joyfully enjoying purpose or painfully
pursuing survival.
Pursuing survival. Yeah. Pursuing survival. That's what you don't want to be doing. You're just living every day to survive. And we've seen retired people doing that. So, but here's what we want to say, regardless of the stage you're in, because you might have had this talk and it's filled you with joy because you're so on track and it's like affirmed where you are. And we bless God for you if that's the case. Some of you may have heard it and you just felt a burden, like, oh my God, I wasted opportunities. I'm not where I should be. But here's what I want to say. God is a God of second chances. We really believe it's never too late to get things right. Um, First of all, you can't rely on excuses. If only I was born in this family, if only I went to college, if only I made wise choices when I was younger, if only someone taught me these things at that time. No, 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 those are excuses. You still can maximize your current opportunities well. Somebody said the best time to learn to invest or to begin investing is yesterday. The second best time is today. And so it's not too late for you as a couple to begin to do this. And one of the reasons we challenge couples, I mean, this is called Couples and Money. Some of you are watching this as single and you're wondering why just for couples. It's because we have a real burden to see marriages work, because we feel like for everybody in the society, when families are strong, then the society will be strong. Actually, we're working on a singles and money course as well. But for now, this is what we've been able to prepare, which is a couples and money course. And that's why we're so passionate about it. We're so passionate about it. Through this course, our vision is to raise 1,000 kingdom millionaires, dollar millionaires in the next 10 years. And we believe we're on track to do it. That's actually what we are working towards. Couples who are passionately pursuing their purpose and positively influencing many lives as a result. We're not looking to build couples who they'll make money and the money just blows their head up. We've seen that too many times where people make money, the husband gets rich, now young girls start looking at him and the marriage blows up. They were even better when they were poor. Our vision is to raise responsible, mature, passionate couples who are pursuing purpose together. And as a result, to lift up Africa, to lift up our societies. Because of raising this kind of couples. We believe that an economic revolution is important. We believe political liberation was won 50, 60 years ago, but we believe economic independence has not yet come to Africa. And we believe that this is how we begin to do it as God's people.
Yeah. And so what we're talking about in Couples and Money is having that community, a community of mentors. In our talk today, we've been talking about having mentors. And so in Couples and Money, we do have that community of mentors who are able to walk with couples as they are walking towards this financial freedom. And as Maridi said over here, we are committed to raising 1,000 Kingdom Dollar millionaire couples. And it is possible to do that. And I think we're putting in place the systems to do that. So through Couples and Money.
And let me also say this. We actually consider this the best investment you can ever make. It's an investment. It's not a course. It's an investment. And you're investing in your financial literacy and education and intimacy as a couple. So we consider this like one of the best investments you can ever make as a couple.
Yeah. And I know we've been talking about investments. We've been talking about, questions have been coming about stocks, about shares, about all these things. But the one thing that will trip you up as a couple is the inability to work together. It's the inability of just understanding how you can leverage on each other's strengths. So through Couples and Money, you learn how your family backgrounds, you learn how your temperaments are the biggest causes of your disagreements right now.
Yeah.
Probably as you've been listening, one of you has been saying, my goodness, this is what I've been thinking. This is what I've been talking about. We can make these kinds of investments. But your spouse is risk averse, whereas you have a higher risk appetite. So in Couples and Money, we kind of help you understand your temperaments and your family backgrounds and learn how you can leverage and how you can work together towards achieving your financial goals.
Absolutely. Your differences will stop being a threat. They'll actually become something you can leverage on. But we'll also teach you how to have safe money conversations. Many couples who do this class, that's one of the biggest assets. Money stops being a time bomb. It stops being a thing that you tread around walking on eggshells, and actually becomes a pleasant thing that you're looking forward to talking to. I remember what Tom said earlier. You stop running away from the conversation or having it because your spouse wants to have it, and you actually start having it because you enjoy doing it. We're going to even teach you how to have a joint mission statement, so that money budgeting stops being just a thing you do because people do it, but it becomes a tool towards achieving your goals. So even as you're budgeting, you know exactly where this is taking you to, and it actually becomes a pleasurable tool. But also we'll teach you how to get out of debt. Debt is going to be a major enemy for many of you as you're trying to get to achieve the things that you feel God is calling you to. And so we're going to teach you how to conquer debt, how to invest without debt, how to avoid the lifestyle trap, how to invest your resources, and how, most importantly, somebody talked about how do we even make these 8 streams of passive income. We're going to teach you how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're also going to teach you how to be generous. It's interesting, the more money that you make, if you're not generous, then money begins to control you. And you begin to get into lifestyles that you don't want to enter into, or lifestyles that we see people entering into. And when you're broke, you're wondering, how is it that somebody can have such a conspicuous lifestyle or a wasteful lifestyle? So we teach you how to be generous. And we also teach you how to talk to your children about money, which is very important. You do not want all your hard work to be wasted in the next generation. We're talking about a very comprehensive package that helps you with your children as well, not just as a couple, but also with your children.
And we're going to share our mistakes.
Yeah.
We're very open in the course. We also share our failures, but we also believe that the best experience is not experience. The best teacher is not experience, it's someone else's experience, because experience is a painful teacher. You'd rather learn from someone else's experience. So we share those mistakes, but then we do it in a way that helps you begin to say, okay, we can learn not to repeat some of those mistakes. So it's not just principles you'll be learning. It's very practical. I remember talking to somebody today and asking them what it was about couples and money that was so useful. And they said it was the most practical. Every day, every week, we left with something to do that week. So it's going to be very practical and applicable course.
Yeah.
So somebody said CNM will teach you how to better prepare for the challenges of COVID-19. It's very true. Yeah. We had quite a few couples who had done couples and money before COVID-19. And when it hit, they were like, this thing is what helped us survive. Actually, it helped us to thrive when everybody else was struggling, because we had done this. So is there a book called Couples and Money? Is it part of the package? We actually don't, it's video. These lessons are all video lessons. But what we have is a workbook that helps you to process with your spouse. So we'll talk a bit about the course, because people are asking about that. And those of you who are asking about recording and sending the recording, we won't send it by email, but we'll put it up. I think we'll put it up on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you join the Ndoa Couples community, and that's where you got the invite to this anyway, we'll share a link that you can actually go on, and maybe even want something that you can share with your spouse if they're not here to listen with you, because I think sometimes it's important for you to understand this. So maybe we can talk a bit about the course, because there are a lot of questions coming up. But I want to say this: the most important thing in life is to gain wisdom. Again, going back to King Solomon, I've quoted him a lot tonight. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13 to 15. This is what he says. He said, "Blessed are you who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her." Let me tell you, getting that wisdom, getting that financial literacy, getting understanding God's views of money, it's the most incredible thing you'll ever get. And you know why it's so important? It's because even if you lost everything you had, you still have the wisdom on how to make it. You're no longer determined by your circumstances. And it's such a powerful tool, this wisdom. Get in another place, Solomon says, whatever it is, just get wisdom. Prioritize getting wisdom. And this is what we believe that Couples and Money will give you as you take this course. Now, in a minute, we want to pray for you, but because of the questions I'm seeing, maybe we can just end by talking a bit about how Couples and Money works.
Yeah.
So first of all, it's a 10-week course. It takes 10 weeks. It's online. You're going to do it all online. And part of the reason, it was interesting, we did this course before COVID, before online was cool. But we just felt Nairobi traffic was such a headache. We wanted to create a course that people could do without having to drive to a class in the evening somewhere. And so we normally do it online. And I remember those days, it was such a hassle.
Oh, Zoom.
We had the first lesson was how to use Zoom. Can you believe it? We actually scraped that lesson because now everybody knows how to use Zoom. But it's mostly done on Zoom. There's some videos you get that you watch every week, and then you discuss it on Zoom once a week. We normally do it 7:30 to 9 on a Thursday night. But classes actually have a bit of flexibility. But it's an online course, so you can do it from the flexibility of wherever you are. Sometimes one of you is traveling. We've had people traveling. I remember one of the groups we were facilitating, the husband was in the States, The wife was here because of travel, but it didn't stop. They didn't even miss one class because they could do it from wherever they were. And that's how convenient it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the classes are mainly held on Thursday night from 7:30 to 9, which is, a time like this. And I think we do try to hold the classes around that time, but you're at liberty. If that doesn't work for you, you're at liberty to see what other day works for you, because we do want it to be as convenient as possible, but we do ask as far as is possible to do the classes at 7 on Thursday, just because there's a certain rhythm that we are trying to
So for
maintain.
those of you in Europe, in other parts of the world, we may need to just figure out, get as many people from the same region, and do it at a time zone that works for you. Hopefully, if we're able to get enough people from your part. But also, the cost of the class is usually 25,000 shillings, which is about $250.
Yeah.
$250. But several times a year, somebody asked how many times do we do it? We do it 3 times a year. So we have a class now, we have a class in May and a class in September. And those times when we're launching, we normally do a 25% discount. And so the cost right now is 19,000 shillings or $190. So you can translate that into your currency. So it's a really good deal. And to book your space, you basically pay 2,000 shillings, which is $20. And then you can pay the rest in 3 equal installments, monthly installments. We did that, especially in the COVID season, because we realized, people had cash crunches, but wanted to do the class. Yeah. So for instance, if you paid the 2,000 today, the $20 today, it reserves your space, and it's a limited space cost because we only take as many people as we have facilitators. But once you reserve your space, then at the end of January, you'd pay 6,000 shillings, which is $60. And then at the end of February, you do the same. And then the end of March, as the class is ending, you do the same as well. And this just works out well for people so that you're able to do it. If you wanted to, you could also just pay the 2,000 and then pay the full balance.
Okay. Yeah. So someone has asked, is this per couple or per person? It is actually per couple. So it's very reasonably priced. The price is per couple. It is not per person. And then someone has asked, what's the difference between couples and money? And couples and money specifically just deals with money. It deals with investments. It deals with helping you as a couple understand how to work together towards achieving to work together to help you grow your finances, to even help you get a common language for your finances. So it's very, very specific. With couples and money, we also form communities for couples, like accountability communities for couples, so that you're working together and helping each other achieve your financial goals. So it's more than a 10-week program, which is different than DOA. And it's a community where we're saying we do want to work together beyond the cost to help you achieve financial freedom.
Somebody asked, how about investing in Europe? The laws here are, I guess, different income streams, but you know what? The principles of investing are the same wherever you go. We've lived abroad, and we've just found, now I look back at the opportunities I had even when I was a student in the US. We could have actually invested dramatically different had we known what we know today. So I think what you learn will work in Europe, it will work in America, it will work in whatever country you're in. This is not Africa investment specific, but it's actually something that will work wherever you are. Let me just put, somebody said, when is the next class starting? The next class actually begins next week. So actually the intro class, we have an intro class that happens next Thursday night. And so that's why we really wanted to have this talk tonight, so that if you're interested, you can pay your 2,000 and then get enrolled in a group right away and get your course materials. Somebody asked, when is the next DOA class? Since I'm signed up for both, DOA class should actually begin
about next week, but they meet differently.
They meet at a different time.
They probably meet on Sunday.
On Sundays, I think. So it'll happen at a different time. So DOA is also going to be starting around the same time. Somebody said, except Eritrea. I don't know if you're in Eritrea, but I guess if you're in a communist or socialist country, it might work a little different. I don't know.
The principles of getting out of debt, of
Yeah.
investing together, of financial, just having a financial goals for the family. I think those transcend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Marcy, you're right. And you're a mathematician. Actually, I neglected to say that. You said the split doesn't add up to 19K, it totals 20K.
Yeah.
So actually, you're right. I should have explained that. And I'm glad you caught me on that. So if you do it in the 3 installments, then you'll actually end up paying 20K, which is $200. $200. But if you pay the 2,000 and then pay all the balance, the 17, then it will be 19. So you actually get a discount for paying it all at once, a further discount for paying it all at once. So thank you for raising that, Marcy. I really appreciate. Singles, can singles join the class? It's because it's very couple centric. There's work you do as couples, you go and work as a couple and think through it. We really target this class specifically for couples. Like I said, we are hoping to launch a singles and money soon. And so if you're a single, if you don't mind, it's not discrimination, but we just feel like we created a lot of very specific couple content for this. And it wasn't out of discrimination, it's just what at the time, we really felt the need was very high at that point. But I guess we've had enough people, a lot of our friends who are single who've said, you must contextualize this for a single person. So we're actually working on that.
I think there's a number that we can give at the end, not just a couple's money we go pay, but the Ndoa community, where if you're single, just indicate single, and then we will see how in the meantime we can direct you to something that may work for you. Okay. To a program that may work for you.
All right. Yeah. I think everybody who's watching this should be in the Ndoa community. Yeah. All right. So let me talk about payment details. A teens and money class would be great. Absolutely. I completely agree. And probably after the singles one, that's the next one we need to be working on, because teaching your kids is critical. And actually one of the modules in couples and money is actually teaching kids about money. So we show you as a parent how you can start teaching your kids. And we began to teach our kids about money when they were like 4 years old.
Yeah. When they could count maybe to 10.
As soon as they could count to 10, we realized it's time to teach them about money and to entrust them with money and to start teaching them how to invest money. And so our kids have always been very wise when it comes to money. They know how to use it. Conscious. Even we've got one who likes the good life, yeah. But then we've taught him or her, and let me not betray what gender they are. Some of you might know our kids, but we've taught them that to have a lifestyle, you need to be able to afford a lifestyle. Yeah. And so that has made them very good shoppers, made them very wise with their money. They don't blow money because they treat it like it's theirs. And I think that has just been very good for us as parents to see. Wilson says it works out to about $2,000 per session for the couple. That's about $20 per session. The value is the investment, and it's done at the comfort of your home, no travel time and hassles. Absolutely, you're right. And then kindly say something about widows and widowers and investment. That's wow. My goodness, that's a really deep one, huh?
Yeah, and again, if you indicated that in the Ndoa community, we would be able to figure out and to send you to a program that will be helpful for you.
Absolutely. All right. So okay, we'll put. Maybe I'm going to ask Aggie, because Aggie, you're in this. You're our co-host. Could you put? Yes. Could you put the Ndoa couples community WhatsApp number? So Aggie will put that up on the.
Okay.
She'll just put that on the chat. And then you can use that. You can just send a WhatsApp to that number and immediately you join the Ndoa couples community. Sorry, I assumed everybody in the call was in it. So for those new to the sessions, please share what's involved. So I think like I said, it's those things we broke down and we said, it's 10 weeks.
So when you pay, for example, then you receive videos.
Share what's involved in the Ndoa program. Ndoa is it's a basic boot camp for marriage. It gives you a values foundation for your marriage. Yeah. So it's different from couples and money, because couples and money zooms in on one topic in your marriage, which is money. But Ndoa goes through everything: in-laws, communication. It just deals with the whole conflict resolution. It deals with everything in marriage. So it's a very basic, it's like it gives you common values as you're starting off the journey of marriage, Or if you've been married for a while and you just feel we never got a good foundation, Ndoa is fantastic for that. Couples and money now takes one of the biggest issues, landmines in marriage, money, and just goes deeper into it to prepare you to be ready for this big thing. Is it for newlyweds? It's for newlyweds and for people who have been, like I said, even people who are staying together, people who just married for a long time and never got. Let's see, I need to mute Annette. Okay, so let me say something about for those of you who would like to pay your 2,000, I'm going to put a link there, if you can see it. It's the one that says https://couplesmoneywegopay.com. Okay, there's Ndoa community, mine and Belinda, CNM, mine and Belinda. I've just put the Ndoa community number. If you'd like, if you're not in the Ndoa community, you can use that number, send a WhatsApp. And then let me put it again because a lot of text came in. The couplesandmoney.wegopay. So just click on that and it gives you a payment profile and you can instantly pay your 200. And you can pay it in Rwandan francs, USD, Kenya currency. I don't know, Agi, if we can do Tanzanian yet.
I think we were making provision.
But we're trying to make provision. So
yeah, we're making provision for it.
For Tanzania shillings as well. So tell us if you. But right now, I think we have dollars, Rwandan, Ugandan, and Kenyan. So you can use that link. So I think we have exhausted our time. We need to conclude.
Yeah,
we want to respect your time as well.
Yeah. Somebody had asked whether there's a Saturday class, and Tom and Lorraine have responded. And they have said, once you sign up for the first class on Thursday, which is next week at 7:30, you will meet with your group, and then you can decide, whether Thursday will work or whether as a group you can shift to Saturday.
Yeah, groups have been pretty flexible. They try and work with the time that is best. So some groups even meet later at night. Some meet on a weekend just because they found maybe one couple or two couples just couldn't work with that Thursday time. But for the first class, we normally do Thursday, so we can even discuss those kinds of logistics. So I hope that answers.
Yeah.
So we want to pray for you.
Yeah. I
do
think
you have something to say?
Yeah, just one last thing. I think we're going to avail the recording because
Put it up on YouTube.
We're going to put it up on YouTube. And what we might say is that if you know any relatives, we always say, please, when you find a good thing, if you know that it's going to help you financially, please don't leave your relatives and your friends behind. So if you can share the link with your friends and relatives who you feel would benefit from the talk, you feel would benefit from Couples and Money or even Ndoa, please go ahead and share it with them, and just so that we can begin to be a blessing to those around us.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason we consider it witchcraft. For you to be the rich guy in your family and everybody else is poor, that's witchcraft. That's one of the values we learned from our mentor, who's called Bishop Masika, who taught us that, because it's like you can't be the only rich guy in the village.
Yeah.
You can't be the only rich sibling. That's witchcraft. So you need to share the knowledge and to grow with others. So we really encourage people to bring their relatives into this, bring your friends into it.
Now the Ndoa number seems to be full. Can we give the...
But people are joining even now.
Okay, still working.
Yeah, it's still working.
Maybe
I've put the number there.
Okay, Agi, can you put down your number so that
anybody who says it's full can send a text.
Can send a text, and then we will sort it out.
Sawa.
So,
okay, Miriam says she's tried several.
Yeah,
okay.
So Agi is our admin, and she'll put down her number over there, so that you just send a text to her, and then we shall see how to sort you out.
Yeah, Miriam, I'm not sure what's going on, Miriam, because I just got, even now, probably about 10 texts that have just come in now, even as we're speaking.
But so there is Agnes' number.
I'm kind of surprised. So for you, Miriam, just send it to Agnes, who's there, and it will take in, it doesn't have a limit, so it doesn't get full. And so, no, this is not a WhatsApp group. It's actually a business number. A business number, so it can take an unlimited number of people. So there's no limit in this, Kaboyas. So as many people as want to join should be able to join. So if you find, asking for a friend is a different proposition. If you're trying to join asking for a friend, and we can explain that another time, You'll find the group is full, and we'll explain why. We'll start a new group. But for the ones who are joining, who are trying to join the Ndoa couples community, who've never joined the Ndoa couples community, then just use that WhatsApp group. It's been put there several times. I'll put it again. Use this number here to get in. So yeah, you can see it on your screen there. And then I'll also put in, let's see if I can find the other.
Aggie, it's here. Come on.
Yeah.
How
long is DOA? It's 10 weeks. Can a couple do both at the same time? I think there will be a time requirement, so you're going to have to figure out that between
Aggie,
the two of you.
please put down your number again.
She has.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'll put the payment link again for Couples and Money, for those who are interested. And again, remember, we don't have, it's limited space, so it's first come, first serve. So if you're able to pay your $2,000 as soon as possible, just or $20, save your space. So we want to just conclude, and then we'll probably, what we'll do, kuna graduation. Yes, there's a graduation, and it's always a fun event. But beyond the graduation, we have events. So this event is not unusual for the Ndoa couples, for the couples and money community. We do events like these regularly for those who are graduated, the alumni, because we want to just continually keep accountability, but also education. And so once you join the community, you'll realize there's a lot of value beyond the class. The class is just the beginning. There's a lot of other value that comes, a lot of free events that happen. So I'm going to ask Carol to pray. And what we want to pray for is anybody here who's listening to this, who is struggling, a couple that is struggling to work together. Maybe you're even here alone with your spouse because you couldn't even invite them for something like this. They wouldn't even agree to come. And we know there are those of you who are in that space. Yeah. And you realize right now you're just building the same house with two contractors. But we want to pray for you because God is the author of marriage, and we believe he's able to actually bring a solution for you, even as you trust him. So we want to just pray for your marriage in a sec. And then any couple here who's underperforming financially, as you listen to this talk, you realize, my goodness, we're just not where we should be as a couple. And again, we really believe that you don't have to fear living a life of regret, that God is actually a God of a second chance. And as you begin to make the wise moves, he's actually able to direct you to where you should be heading. And so I'm going to ask my wife, Cara, if we just say a prayer for those who are watching tonight.
All right. Father, I thank you, Father, for this session that we have had. Thank you, Father, that even as we have talked, we have said that you're a God of a second chance. We thank you, Lord, that according to your word, a couple being able to work in unity is your purpose, is your will for all of us. Indeed, you're pleased when we are able to come together, to pull our resources together and to work towards a common future. It is the enemy who comes to steal that unity. But as for you, it is your perfect will that we work well together. So, Father, for all those couples who are struggling to work together financially, we are asking Jehovah God for a breakthrough that this year will be a different year for them, that this year will be a turning point for them. I'm asking, Lord, that they will be able, again, for a breakthrough, first steps first, that they would be able to come and be in the same class and learn the same things. I know here there's some people who are like, I would like to do this class, but my spouse cannot hear of it. I'm asking you, Jehovah God, that you will touch that spouse wherever they are, and that you will convict them, oh God, to come and to do the class. I'm praying, Father, that that you will touch them. I'm praying, Father, that even as this spouse talks to their spouse, I'm asking, Father, for your favor, that as they speak, the other spouse will hear favorably, and that they'll be open, even if it is to try 3 classes, they will be open to do that. And I'm praying, Father, just for hope and courage and encouragement for somebody here who has tried and has not succeeded. But we are saying, you, oh God, who's a God of a second chance, we are surrendering these couples, we're surrendering these families and asking you, oh God, for a miracle. We're also praying for those who are feeling that they have underperformed financially. Again, you're a God of a second chance. You're even able to do divine acceleration. I'm praying, Father, that as these couples join our community indeed this will be their testimony, that they joined a community of people who are willing to help one another, willing to network with one another, willing to help each other grow financially. And I'm asking you, oh God, that you again give them courage, that you give them hope, and that indeed this year would be a year of turnaround, where they'll be able to make steps towards perhaps reducing their debt, towards and beginning their journey of investments. So Father, we are truly thankful for this time we have had. We even pray for those who are joining the class. We're praying that it would be an amazing time where they would be mentored, an amazing time where they will learn from other couples, an amazing time where their lives will never be the same again. So Father, we surrender them, we surrender the class, we surrender just even the rest of the evening, that you'd be with us. For we pray these things in Jesus' name.
Amen. Awesome. Well, great to have you guys. And thank you so much for making time. We'll actually stay on for a few minutes. For those of you who need to ask questions or have any issue with any of those platforms we shared, just to troubleshoot. So I'm going to ask Aggie to stay on, and a few of the couples and money people who are able to, and we can just answer questions. But thank you so much. It's been a fantastic evening. God bless you all. And I can't wait to see the results of this. We pray that even just this talk will actually be a value add to you. And even those who are not married yet, that this was actually useful for you as well. God bless you.
God bless you.